the smell. Many of our residents that live very close to these greenhouses that are not filtered with their emissions from the greenhouse, they're really basically right against the wall. I've been to their places and the smell is just horrible. And yet the frustrating part is, what can we do to control this? So anyhow, something maybe for council to consider is this property standards, maintenance and standards bylaw.
Other questions, Dave?
Mr. Chair, with this product, there comes a very sketchy volume of people in some of these places. Are bylaw officers equipped to go into some of these places, not knowing who's in there or what type of people they are? Just a question.
Charlie?
Well, as you're aware, that staff through them and the Cannabis Task Committee under Matt, our planner, have pursued, and council has pursued, and in the process of pursuing that, the only way we feel at the moment that we can attempt to start to address this is through our zoning bylaw. And the two features of that council passed were that these operations are allowed in two zones, and they have been for the last 2+ years, is in an industrial zone and agriculture. But what we've done in the new bylaw is put in provision that these operations should be under site plan control. And secondly, with changing the MSD, the minimum separation distance. And that's the only way that we have attempted. So we have currently addressed one complaint that is in the court system. We are anxiously waiting that will be heard on November the 19th. It has been, of course, court delayed, and that will be the litmus paper. That'll be the guinea pig to see if the courts feel that we have the teeth through a zoning bylaw to address these. So it's been a long process. There is some light at the end of the tunnel. It'll be up to the courts now. And if the courts rule that the county does have the teeth, I can assure you we will be proceeding with more charges, but we feel we don't want to put them in if we don't get the support of the judicial system. So as far as what it takes to have the police go in, that's an answer for these gentlemen.
Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2 points I'd like to make. First of all, specifically on Dave's question, I remember that same question came up at one of our council meetings when we were talking about this. And we as council were reassured that there has been an arrangement made between bylaw and the OPP that if a bylaw officer is going to do a property visit and is in any way uncomfortable about his or her safety, the OPP has agreed that an officer will accompany our bylaw officer. So he or she would never be put in the position of going on to a potentially dangerous scenario without an OPP officer there with them if they feel that's needed. The other point I want to just reaffirm, Mr. Chair, and it kind of relates to what the mayor was just talking about. My recollection when we've talked about this before around this board table is that if a citizen is suffering a problem because of alleged production of marijuana on a property next door to them, we are prepared as an OPP board, and the OPP are prepared to have that person make a complaint to the OPP relative to suspected marijuana going on, and that at the very least our OPP will determine whether or not a license has been issued for that property. We have the right to do that. We have access, I gather, to the Health Canada data, even for these personal use medical ones, and that as a minimum would be done in response to a citizen complaint. And again, I'm just wanting to reaffirm that that is our our protocol now with our detachment.
Correct.
That's a very short answer.
Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair?
Go
I
ahead,
just
Carol.
have a question for the inspector, through you. When somebody gets a license to grow medical marijuana, are they required to report that to you? And are they also required to tell you how much they are allowed to grow?
The short answer is no. They're not required to report to us. They're done voluntarily. We do have some that come and notify us, but there's a vast number that don't.
Charlie?
I've attended a number of workshops, one in Halifax, one in Ottawa, and conferences. I've done quite a bit of research on the internet, on articles. Two things that I have learned is, number one, when I go to my doctor and I have chronic pain and I get a letter from my doctor saying that I need marijuana for it, and that's, and I'm not against that. I'm saying that that is how you get your letter. That letter is a confidential letter between the physician and the patient. So the county, or I don't believe even the OPP, can ask to see that. It's a medical record. And then it's as simple as going online to get your license from Health Canada. And how do they determine how many plants you can grow? You go to the internet and look at marijuana calculator. Put it into Google and hit it. The calculator, as it's called, will ask for your weight, your age, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And based on all of the information you put in, it will tell me that I need 72 plants to look after my ailment, or 50. It goes up in multiples of about 25. And now I have a license sent to me from Health Canada, and I can grow my 50 plants, let's say. But Councillor Oliver has also done the same thing, and I am allowed to grow on my property for one other person, or vice versa. So it's difficult. It's really, really tough for us to, get some of the information that maybe we need to know to see if you're growing too many plants or not.
Thank you, Mayor. I've read some of that information as well. I've done a little bit of research. And one of the things that Health Canada had advised somebody who was looking to get a license to grow medical marijuana was that they should advise their local police force. So I didn't know if it was a requirement or if it was a suggestion.
Well, it'd be nice if they all provided that information, but funnily enough, they haven't, so. Any further questions or comments? There's also an article that we dealt with partly under business arising about what happens, what is legal, what is enforceable after it becomes legal in October. Are there any other questions or comments on that? Seeing none, if we could have a motion to accept as information 6A to 6K. Moved by Charlie, seconded by Dave. All in favor? So if we could move on to the inspector's report. Go ahead, Joe. Trying to
Okay,
find a color one.
the inspector's report pertaining to August 2018. Overtime allotment per the contract was $366,903. Dollars spent to date, approximately 257,616.92, which is 70.21% of the budget. Auxiliary policing hours for the month of August was 165. Crime Stoppers report for August 2018. There have been 336 anonymous tips received this year. Promotions, presentations, meetings, Crime Stoppers participated in, presented to the Golf Committee, Children's Fishing Derby at Deer Creek, Caledonia BIA, Dunville Fair, Dunville Salvation Army, and the Higgersville Jarvis Library. Fundraising on
I
August...
think you have pages that we don't, so if you can go through this at a
Slower pace?
slower pace,
Okay.
so
Fundraising for Crime Stoppers, golf tournament was held on August 16th at the Montill Golf and Country Club. 71 golfers were in attendance, and it was a success, raising approximately $12,000. Nothing else to report really in the Crime Stoppers. Locally dedicated hours of overtime, I'll just go back to June, July, and August since we missed the summer. In June, we had 285 municipal hours and 126.75 provincial. July, we saw 1,493 overtime hours for municipally, 545.86 provincially. August, we had 836 municipally, 304.25 provincially. July, obviously, there's a huge jump there due to July the 13th events in Port Dover. The analytical report, I'm just going to provide a summary here. If there's any specific, I can address that as well. So in regards to violent crime, assaults, based on a 5-year trend, it was estimated that we could expect 28 events. During the reported month of August, 20 events were actually investigated. Assault in Norfolk County reported below the projected range for August. June saw a bit of a spike in assaults, however, they were still reported within projected range, and July reported well below the projected range for assaults. Domestic disturbances, based on a 5-year trend, it was estimated that we could expect 63 events. During the actual reported month, 34 events were investigated. Domestic disturbances in Norfolk County reported below the projected range for June, July, and August. Property crime, break-and enters, based on a 5-year trend, it was expected that we could expect 25 events. During the month of August, 17 actual events were investigated, and break-and-enter events in Norfolk reported below the projected range for June, July, and August. Frauds, based on a 5-year trend, it was estimated that we could expect 11 events, and during the reported month, 14 actual events were investigated. Frauds did report within the projected range for July and August. June was reported below the projected range. Mischiefs, based on a 5-year trend, it was estimated that we could expect 42 events. During the month of August, 24 actual events were investigated. Mischiefs in Norfolk County reported below the projected range for June and August. July did see a spike, but still reported within the projected range. Theft from motor vehicle. Based on a 5-year trend, it was estimated that Norfolk County could expect between the range of 6 and 28 events. During the actual reported month, 22 events were investigated. Theft from motor vehicle events reported within the projected range for August. June reported below the projected range, while July saw a spike well above the projected range. July events focused primarily on Simcoe and Port Dover. As a result of this increase, 2 focus patrols were created with increased presence and enforcement in the identified areas. No arrest or charges resulted from the focus patrols, however, the events fell back within the projected range for August. Theft of vehicle. Based on a 5-year trend, it was estimated that we could expect 11 events. During the reported month of August, 11 actual events were investigated. Theft of vehicle events reported within the projected range for August. June reported within the projected range, while July saw a slight increase, reporting just above the projected range. Theft under, based on a 5-year trend, it was estimated that Norfolk County could expect 58 events. During the reported month, 55 actual events were investigated. Theft under events reported within the projected range for August. June reported slightly below the projected range, while July saw an increase, and the increase is directly related to the theft from motor vehicle events, which are included in these theft under totals. Illicit drugs, based on a 5-year trend, it was expected that we would see 7 events occur. During the reported month, 4 actual events were investigated. Drug events reported below the projected range for June, July, and August. During the reported period, there were 3 warrants executed, resulting in 5 persons charged with a total of 31 offenses. There were 4 drug seizures and 6 property seizures, household articles, tools, electronics, etc. No vehicles or cash were seized during this time frame. Collisions. All collision types for August reported below the projected range at 52. All collision types did see a decrease of 12 from August last year. A year-to-date decrease of 4% was observed from the same time frame last year. All collision types for June reported below the projected range, while July reported within the projected range. Property damage collisions for August reported within the projected range of 38. Property damage collisions did see a decrease of 1 from August last year, and a year-to-date increase of 3.5% was observed from the same time frame last year. All property damage collisions for June reported below the projected range, while July reported within the projected range. Non-fatal injury collisions for August reported below the projected range at 12. Non-fatal injury collisions did see a decrease of 10 from August last year, and a year-to-date decrease of 27.7% was observed from the same time frame last year. All non-fatal injury collisions for June and July reported within the projected range. Non-fatal injury collisions totaled 47 for June, July, and August. In reviewing the collisions, they ranked as follows. Failed to yield right-of-way, 12. Inattentive driver, 8. Other, 5. Excessive speed, 3. And unknown, 3. Ability impaired by alcohol, 3. Lost control, 3. Improper turn, 2. Speed too fast for conditions, 2. 2 due to medical or physical disability. Disobey traffic control, 1. Debris on roadway, 1. 1 animal collision, and 1 failed to share a roadway. Fatal collisions for August reported within the projected range at 1. Fatal collisions saw a decrease of 1 from August last year, and a year-to-date decrease of 28.6% was observed from the same time frame last year. There was 1 fatal collision that occurred on August the 11th on Spooky Hollow Road. It was a single motor vehicle collision in which a motorcycle ran off the roadway as it failed to navigate the bend in the roadway. There were no fatal collisions in June. However, July reported 2. A 2-vehicle collision between a bus and a car occurred on Nixon Road on the 13th of July, and a 2-vehicle collision occurred on McDowell Road in July. Impaired driving, based on a 5-year trend, it was estimated that we could expect 7 events. During the reported month, 5 actual events were investigated, and impaired driving events in Norfolk reported within the projected range for June, July, and August. Mental Health Act incidents. Based on a 5-year trend, it was estimated that we could expect 49 events. During the reported month, 32 actual events were investigated, and during the month of August, members investigated the 32 occurrences, dedicating 100 191.25 hours to their investigations, and the average year-to-date time spent per mental health call is 6 hours. Mental Health Act events in Norfolk reported below the projected range for August, June, and July. For August, June, and July reported within the projected range. Foot patrol for June across the county totaled 385.25 hours, July 477, August 435.25 hours. Bicycle patrol, June we had 8.25 hours, July 74.25 hours, and August 1 hour. School visits, in June we had 1 violent event and 36 visits. July summer school we had 6 visits, and August 1 visit. Driving charges, going back 3 months, so they were always behind, so we'd be reporting on May. We had 4 distracted driving charges, 1 racing, 212 speeding, 4 seat belts, and 11 impaired driving charges. Suspensions, in May we had 5 roadside screening, 13 ADLS suspensions, 5 3-day suspensions, and we conducted 30 rides and 17 seat belts, respectively. In regards to focus patrols and speed spies, so from August 9th to September 11th, we had a focus patrol in regards to a complaint about unlicensed street vendors operating in the town of Simcoe. We had 6 officers dedicate 6 hours, and we laid 1 bylaw charge in regards to peddling goods without a license. I know that I engaged bylaw with this focus patrol, and they altered their hours to be out there as well, but I'm unaware of what their results were. I did not get a report back. Theft from motor vehicle in Simcoe, we had a focus patrol from August 15th to September the 5th. It was generated as a response to increased theft from motor vehicle incidents in Simcoe. We had 1 officer dedicated an hour and a half, and unfortunately there were still 3 reported theft from motor vehicle incidents in Simcoe. Focus patrol in Port Dover for theft from motor vehicle ran through the same time frame, and we had 2 officers dedicate 2.5 hours and no reported incidents occurring in Dover. We have a currently open HSD Big 4 traffic focus patrol on McDowell Road, running from September 1st to the end of the year, December 31st. It's in regards to speeding and collisions. We also have the same type of focus patrol running on Highway 3 in response to collisions and speeding. And we also have an HSD Big 4 ride initiative that runs from September 1st to December 31st out in the West End, Norfolk County Road 23 area. And this is generated in response to an analysis that we did regarding alcohol-related driving events. We noticed a high number out in that area, so we created a focus patrol to combat that. And that is in conjunction with our Highway Safety Division partners out of London region. We had a focus patrol for speeding on Cockshot Road in Renton, ran from May 28th to June 18th, generated as a result of complaints in that area. We had 7 officers dedicate 16.75 hours to the focus patrol. 19 charges were laid with 1 warning. Focus patrol regarding speeding in Port Ryerson from June 11th to July 15th. Again, it was in response to a complaint, which I think was brought up here, at the board. We had 8 hours dedicated 22 3/4 hours to the Focus Patrol. 5 charges were laid and 2 warnings issued. Focus Patrol for speeding, Colonel Talbot Road at Navy's Corners, ran from June 11th to June 29th. Again, it was in response to a complaint about speeding. We had 6 officers dedicate 9 hours, 6 charges were laid with 1 warning. Our HSD Big 4 Focus Patrol on Highway 3 from Simcoe to Delhi, it closed on June 30th. It started April 1st. And as of June 30th, we had 45 officers dedicate 427 hours to enforcement on Highway 3, that stretch. And as a result, we laid 104 charges and 32 warnings. Our Big 4 initiative on Highway 24 from Simcoe to Brant County, which ran from April 1st to June 30th, it's closed. As of June 30th, 43 officers dedicated 742 hours to enforcement on Highway 24. That resulted in 433 charges and 29 warnings being issued. Focus Patrol Lynn Valley Road for speeding ran from July 19th to August 13th. Again, it was the result of a complaint. 4 officers dedicated 6 hours, 3 charges were laid. And in response to the fatal collision that we had on McDowell Road in July, we ran a collision reduction Focus Patrol on McDowell Road from July 26th to August 31st. And during that, 10 officers dedicated 46 1/4 hours and 48 charges were laid as a result. And McDowell Road, as you heard earlier, has been rolled into a larger Focus Patrol running for the whole quarter. On June 26th, there was a joint initiative between the OPP, Ministry of Transportation, and the Ministry of Finance regarding a motor vehicle, commercial vehicle inspection blitz held in Waterford. And 23 inspections were conducted, and a total of 9 charges were laid. And in regards to speed spy studies, since we last met as a board, we've conducted 18 different speed spies throughout the county, and 6 of those resulted in identifying that there was an actual problem, and Focus Patrols created to deal with that. Until Brant County took back their Speed Watch sign, we deployed it in May on Cockshot at Inglewood and Port Dover, June on Colonel Talbot at Navy's Corners. Prior to our Focus Patrol there, unfortunately, some individuals thought that they decided to throw beer bottles at it and damage it, but we repaired it. And in July, we put it at Highway 6 and Pheasant Trail, leading up to PD 13 events. And that's my report. If there's any questions or concerns.
Questions for the inspector on his report? Questions for the inspector on any other subject? Seeing none, if I could have a motion to adopt his report as information, moved by Jim, seconded by Carol, all in favor? Thank you. Other business. More speeding. Charlie, do you want to talk about Victoria Road?
Don't throw things, sorry. We've dealt with 8B. I did get a concern from 2 calls. Their new bridge on the east end of Victoria was completed last year, and there are 2 concerns. County looked after one. That's cutting back foliage that was covering the 50 kilometers. Basically, the residents there just say that end of Victoria seems to be speeding, and I think that coming down that hill, my observations are, because I use it frequently, that maybe this is something that council should look at in moving out the 50 from the bridge further. The 80 is down the hill, and then when you hit the Mill Pond Road there to your left going down, it, I think, goes to 60 or 70, and then, so I think the 50 just needs to be moved on a little bit before they hit the bridge. So this maybe should be forwarded. I don't know what the stats are as far as any radar rate there, but it's all over the county. I'm sure it's all over the province, the way people drive. They don't want to slow down. Thank you.
With respect to Norfolk Street north speeding, anything else, or we've beaten that one to death? Okay, question period. Any questions from the press? That would be you. Seeing none, if we could have a motion to move to closed session. Moved by Dave, second by Carol. All in favor? Thank you.